we had an attitude to them whereby we regarded them almost as subhuman.
I would say it was a hate of the Japanese.
What's a good Jap, you know? And you'd say, oh, a dead one.
And having defeated the Japanese, let's go and strike the last.
From the end of the Second World War until the conclusion of a peace treaty in 1952, Australia committed over 36,000 men and women to serve in the British Commonwealth Occupation Force in Japan. Their job was a difficult one for a military
sly
force.
people. This is the feeling we all had during the war years. You can't trust them. You don't know what they're going to do.
I think on the trip to Japan was talking on the boat to people. Everybody was apprehensive. No one knew what to expect. It was seen by all as being an adventure. I think some people went there hoping to kill more Japs, really.
On February the 13th, 1946, Australian soldiers sighted Japan for the first time as their troop ship entered the inland sea, headed for the Japanese naval port of Kure.
The first impact of war that really hit us was to see the wrecks of the Japanese Navy. They'd obviously been sunk at anchor by the B-29s, the US Air Force, and they included
クレア B29 が爆撃いたしました時のことは今でも目の当たりに覚えております。それとまあ悲鳴というのは悲鳴というような悲鳴ではなくって何と言いましょうかね。それこそ海の波のうなりっていうような感じでちょっと例えようがございませんけれども凄まじい状況でした。で翌日江田島に住んでる私のうちの親戚の者が訪ねてきてくれました。そしたら私の母に申しますのに「おばさんもう歩くところどころみんなもう真っ黒焦げの死体だらけだ」って言ってましたけどね。ごめんなさいちょっと。
There was no great fanfare. We simply, as we came alongside and the gangplanks went down, we disembarked. We went down about 2 streets.
The atomic bomb that was exploded over Hiroshima at 8:15 a.m. on August the 6th, 1945, devastated the city and killed over 150,000 people. Those who did not die instantly suffered trauma, burns, and the effects of radiation.
I don't really know how we came to get invited to go to this Japanese hospital, and there were people there with arms and legs practically missing and their faces and body partly eaten away, burnt away, and the smell from the rotting, I suppose rotting flesh and that sort of thing, horrific. And no, it was really, really terrible. And this is why I feel now that bomb should have never been dropped for that reason.
But I'm not about to bound up to him and say, hey, you two, separate. Get away from each other. That's stupid. But some of our people stuck to the rules, and they stuck to them very strictly. And some very fine careers went down the drain when they shouldn't have.
The whole idea of democracy, which we were told...
Despite the threat of disciplinary measures, the Australian troops would continue to fraternise.
それとかヨットにも連れてってくださったことがあります。それもやはり事務員の方たちをね連れて、とっても楽しかったです。やっぱりこれも初めての経験でしたし、でその時に一人の兵隊さんが歌を教えてくださって、その歌は題名は私覚えてませんけれど、A rose must remain with the sun and the rain, all its lovely promise won't come true. To each his own, to each his own.
His own, and my own is you. What good is a song if the words
Kure was quite prolific. The Japanese were absolutely down on their knees. They were short of everything. They were particularly short of food, and the females were available for a very cheap amount. The common joke was you could get a girl for a bar of chocolate all night.
占領軍慰安婦についても同じように戦中の軍隊慰安婦と同じく等しく礼された女たち、軍も米軍も上陸して日本の国策売春の性の教には皆さん同じように教授っていうんでしょうか、受けられたということは同じであったように思います。日本の天皇制の階級
From an occupying power to that of protective power. In other words, our former enemies were now our primary responsibility, or our responsibility in terms of protecting them from their enemies.
We had one fellow that used to work in the camp, and one of the things I remember saying to him, like, what's the attitude, will you ever have another go sort of thing, would you ever start another war? And he said, he said, the wheel keeps turning, you know, and we're down there now, one day we'll be back up there, and he said the whole complexion will change.
Hopes that Japanese war reparations would pay for the occupation came to nothing. In 1948, the Australian government began to reduce its forces, but still publicly stuck to its commitment to keep a symbolic...
No medals were ever struck. And maybe every soldier who serves overseas should have a medal to pass on to his grandchildren or something like that. They've never received anything like that. They've had none of the normal recognition that our diggers have received from every other war.
There's no official thing shown in the War Museum, which I think is a place where it should, when you consider the number of Australians that served there and the fact that so many died there.
Many veterans of the Australian occupation of Japan now face another enemy, a possible legacy of their time in the atom-bombed city of Hiroshima.
Out of my own unit is of 27, there's only 7 of us left, and various ones like Joe Green has died of massive cancers. Another fellow, Laurie Tibbets, he died of massive cancer.
And they will then be convinced. We don't want them to take our word for anything. We want them to investigate it. Do a survey and then they'll know themselves. They'll know what we know, what we suspect.
Now the fact that 50 years on, these people who were committed to operations or activities in support of the occupation of Japan have not been given the normal entitlements that we give to our service personnel is both immoral and unjust and should be corrected.
The promise we made to us was in the